not more than 25. But India is the only exception which has 8% interest. One other exception is China, but it's not as high as us. It is 5% inflation, 5% interest rate. So the rate of interest, there is a tremendous differential between India and rest of the world, which we find today, and that is the reason why what the capital market is today here, what we'll discuss. Now, what is the RBI policy? After the crisis, RBI also reduced the rates. From 9% repo rate, it reduced rate to 4.75%. Everybody reduced to near zero. We also reduced in order to keep our economy growing. As a result of this, what happened in 2008 is that inflation rate went up to 9%. And when inflation rate, as I said, the price which is controlled by, to some extent controlled by, or measured or monitored by Reserve Bank of India is 9%, it reached as high as about 12.2%. And Reserve Bank had to do something about it. And only thing it could do is to increase the rate of interest. And it increased the repo rate to 8%. So why Reserve Bank high rate of 8%? Because of inflation. China, the interbank rate is 4.85%. While in India today, even today, the interbank rate is 8%. Interbank rate is the rate at which the banks borrow on overnight basis. So if you have that kind of a rate, this is the repo rate by the Reserve Bank of India, and you will see how the repo rate has gone down and then gone up because of inflation. Now, then there is, at the same time when they reduce the rate of interest, Reserve Bank has to provide liquidity. That's why they cut the CRR and to some extent SLR. Because banks have to survive, and if the banks have to survive giving credit, then they reduce to some extent the CRR and SLR. What is the effect, net effect of RBI policy? Well, the very positive result of RBI policy, interest rate policy, is the savers have got a real interest rate on deposits of 2%. So they have really benefited by not. But it has affected several other aspects of the economy, several other sections of the economy. Capital formation has fallen from 33% to 29%. As you know, today when there is excess capacity in auto, in scooter, in consumer durables, in capital goods, there is no need for additional investment. Overall savings rate had fallen from 33% to from nearly 30%. Household savings rate, which was about 25%, and India was one of the, India, Japan and China are the three important countries which have a very high household savings rate of about, China is and Japan even higher, reaching as close at about 30 to 40%. India had about 30%. Now it's come down to about 18%. So where is the household money shifting? The household money, if you see the Reserve Bank statistic, the ratio of household savings to physical assets, that is how much households invest between financial assets and physical assets, which was about 54 to 46. That is somewhere in 2000, year 2000. Now the shift is towards the real assets, physical assets. 32% of savings are invested in financial assets. 68% of, and where is it going? It's going gold and real estate. Now, global inflation rate, if I just wanted to touch upon global inflation, is because India is the only country in the, after the crisis that was facing inflation. Other country was Egypt and Indonesia maybe. All other countries are not facing. And what is the contribution of inflation? What are the factors that contributed to inflation in India? If you see the breakup of consumer price index, you will see that there are two important components which contributed to consumer price index. One is the crude oil, the power sector, which was caused by increase in the crude oil prices at that time from $60 to $105. That's one. So there was a cost push inflation. And the second is vegetable prices contributed to. Now, these two facets of inflation cannot be controlled by Reserve Bank. So, Reserve Bank has only given an insurance to the savers that okay, 6%, 7% inflation will give you 8% interest rate. That was the only policy they followed. The control of inflation actually lied with the government, because this was caused by supply bottlenecks. And it is important that in vegetables and several essential commodities, we need to improve the market mechanism, because there are supply bottlenecks and there are price increases. If there is a price increase, the production should go up, but it's not going up. That means the market is imperfect, and that has to be perfect. So it has to be done structurally by certain policies by the government. The Reserve Bank cannot deal with this price inflation unless you import. Now you cannot import vegetables because India is the largest producer of fruits. Another thing is India is the second largest producer of fruits and vegetables. It exports vegetable to other countries. It's the largest exporter of, it's one of the largest producer of fish, largest producer of milk, first rank, and the cattle population. But we do not have industry. Other countries which are less, they have their processing industries which are much larger than what is in India. So these are the sectors where the capital market has to tackle. Capital market cannot go in auto and which are now surplus. At one time we remember Bajaj scooter was on premium. We didn't have to, telephone was on premium. Book a Premier automobile was on premium license. We have got over all that stages and we are now in surplus commodity. We have to go into the other sectors which can contribute to the growth of the economy. These telecom, wonderful story of last 5 years where a new industry has created record growth and record employment to people. Now these are the industries where we have to go, and these are the industries where you have to get to capital market. So my focus is that we cannot expect all those traditional companies to go on raising capital and drive growth of the. It's a new industries and new entrepreneurs and new businesses, small scale undertakings which are still. I have a suggestion there. I'll talk to you later. The equity prices are most important in the capital market, but equity prices depend on expectations, and expectations have raised. That's why the prices have gone up. If you see the stock market, Indian stock market, it is a very comparative as well as reasoning. In terms of reason, if you see, there are minuses as well as plus. So you cannot have continuous growth in the stock market. There will be pluses, there will be minuses. But average rate of return on Indian stock market is about 14 to 15%. Now if you go, there is another measure which, am I overshooting? I think I'll be 3-4 minutes. That the PE ratio. Globally also the PE ratio in India, which is again treated as the ratio which is to see whether the market is over or heated, is not so much. So we are okay on several sectors, but why has the market gone up? If you see, PE to G ratio also is good. That is, the growth of earnings growth is likely to be. One of the most important, the biggest enemy of capital market in India is inflation. That is number one enemy. If inflation is controlled, more resources. The second enemy is gold. But gold cannot be controlled because gold prices are international. And you will see that the gold imports in India is nearly $38 billion annually, which takes nearly 30% of accretion in the bank deposits. You can realize when India enters the gold market, the gold prices go up because they are the biggest purchaser of gold in the international gold. 8% of savings are going in gold. And second is a very productive investment, the real estate investment. Over the last 4 years, the real estate investment is nearly gone up by 12 to 15%. So that's good, that's productive. So it's going at least in a sector which will contribute to the capital market. So if you see on a, this is the real estate and equity, not the gold. Gold is already giving 14%. Real estate has gone up to 14%. Equity is giving 15%. So Indian investors are really very good choice of investments, which nobody has abroad. Real estate is not going out abroad, it's going down, maybe 1-2% now. Gold is international, they can invest in gold, but equity is going up at 15% when they are, maybe in 1 year it went up in US and other markets. But the debt, we are earning about 10%. In most of the developed nations, the rate of interest is about 1-2% or 3%. That is for the corporate bond rate, what I am talking about. So which is the best place for investment for FIIs? India is the best destination for India, for investment in India. So that's why the market has gone up, because the FII investments have gone up in the last 3 years very substantially. 16 billion in 14. This year, last year, it was nearly 29 billion, nearly 24 billion in 2012, 20 billion in 2013. So the total investment in last year by debt and equity is about 41 billion, nearly took care of our 50% of our current account by deficit by FII debt and equity investment. Earlier 100 billion, which was very large and which caused a financial problem. What is the cumulative investment? If you take a cumulative investment, $160 billion are invested by FIIs in the market value. There is, this is just at cost. And our expert on tax, he already said that government is claiming 60,000 crores on the FII profits which they have made tax. So the actual value of FII investment is maybe 2-3 times of this. So they command nearly 25% of our market capitalization in India. If not more. That's the kind of scenario where we are working, and that's the scenario which we have to be very careful, because if something happens abroad, then India is, our market is going to be, our economy will never suffer, because we are a country which is domestic. We are not like China, which drew their economy on exports, and now they are suffering because the exports are not there. We are not like, we will, so long as the oil is cheap and good, rest of the economy will affect the capital market, but overall economy, common man won't be affected. There won't be unemployment. We are better insulated against international, except for finance. We are not insulated. We are very vulnerable for finance because of financial flows, because India was an attractive center and there is no other center. Now, I just wanted to touch upon budget. Mr. Our tax expert already covered some of the aspects which are very positive for the capital market. He has done a good job, because capital market is not the only thing he has to look after. He has to look after the economy. And he provided a number of benefits to tax rate reduction. He digested the pressure of increasing the income tax on individuals. He had provided tax-free bonds for rail, road and irrigation. And in order to reduce the consumption of gold, he has several other schemes for launch of schemes which will be reduce the consumption of gold, because gold is a drag on our economy. Whether it is a financially good in long term, yes, maybe everybody is good in terms of his financial wealth because they invested in gold, but it is not a productive asset. Now, what is the solution? As I said, inflation is the biggest enemy. Second is the high interest rates, because at high interest rate there is no risk taking. Your our Chandak said, there is investor is, I remember a case where senior citizen retired and got his money, and he said, I want to start a small scale industry now. And one senior person, another senior person came and said, hey, put your money in bank deposit and don't bother because that's a risky asset. Don't lose your retirement benefits. So that's the kind of, when a high interest rate, you have so much of risk involved, your risk premium goes down and you don't have a chance for alternative investments. There are hardly any primary issues in the market. Now, my suggestion to this is that nearly small scale industry contributes to exports, contributes to employment, contributes to, there should be a special stock exchange for small scale units for listing. Because what we have capitalized is we have all capitalized, for, as he says, formal sector, large sector. Everybody is after big and large, but nobody wants to go after the small. Let the small sector capitalize, then they get your resources from the market, from the investor. Crowdfunding will take place. So many new investment avenues are coming up, and they can get the equity. Your working capital problem will be solved. How was the software industry promoted in India? Did Narayana Murthy borrow from the bank? He didn't borrow at all. It is own money, and none of the software company has a borrowing of bank. They are all self-driven, and today it is world's largest industry catering to the global demand. So we have to think out of the box. We can't go in the same industries as auto and consumer durables, where you expect L&T to. L&T should do so many things which other countries, other companies can do. So the most important, and we should not follow Western model, because we are India, we have very high rate of entrepreneurial skill, which no other country has, including the US. US may be high technology, but they are not high entrepreneur. We have a high entrepreneurial skill, and that must be mobilized. And to mobilize that, I think we must get small scale industry participation in the capital market by several other methods, by means of crowd investing, venture capital, and listing in the capital market. Then our capital market capitalization will double. And we will also get the younger generation participate into mutual funds